I went to the casino one evening to celebrate a friend's birthday, and there was a bunch of us that had gone, and we were leaving the casino, and I had three loonies, and I put them in the slot machine and won the triple sevens, and won probably about $1,500 that night. And I felt like I was on top of the moon. We left the casino that night, and then I went to dinner and paid everybody's dinner. So it was an instant grab for me at the casino in gambling. It was very instant. After that, I started going almost every day. Yeah, it was an instant attraction for me. I never knew that I had a problem. Even up until the moment I crashed, I never knew because I always thought that I would get that win. It was never in my mind that I had a problem until I got caught up in it. And a gambling addiction comes with a lot of lies and deceit and a whole lot of trouble. And it eventually caught up with me. I was numb when my crash happened. My partner found out about it. My partner's family found out about it, and they just looked at me and said, "You have a problem. You need to get help." So I started to make some phone calls, and I called one place. They didn't have an opening, and then they gave me the number for the program here. It was in its infancy. There was not. It was just beginning at Amethyst. So I was one of the really fortunate ones that there wasn't a waiting list like there is today. And I was able to enter the program right away and have individual counseling and group therapy and whatnot. So I entered the program. I was very numb at the time. And this happened back in 2001. I come from a family of addicted family members. There's various addictions, alcoholism. My father was an alcoholic and whatnot. So I probably had a predisposition to it. But there were many events in my life from childhood on that probably were playing on in the background. There were some financial difficulties in my life at the time as well. And I think the instant win and from my time being in the program and even through my studies following my program, women develop addictions to gambling a lot differently than men do. And it can be an instant high, just like, as in drugs. It can be an instant high that can get you. And that's exactly what happened to me. I had found Amethyst through another organization because they didn't have a program. They didn't have any openings in their current program. So they gave me the number for here, and I called here and got to have an intake interview right away, pretty much within a week. And it was back in 2001 with the gambling program. I think Amethyst, the program was just beginning. And so I was one of the first members of the program back in 2001. My troubles at the time when I crashed and got caught up in my gambling, I lost my job, I lost my home, I lost my partner. I was suicidal at the time, so there was a whole lot of things, and I was just going through the motions. I was stunned. I was absolutely numb in my life at that time when I came here, and I didn't know what I wanted, how I felt. There was a lot of confusion in my world at that time. So Amethyst took me in. They were so caring, and the people here were so skilled in helping me learn how to make decisions, find out who I was, make healthy decisions, and they just nurtured me back to health. I can't say enough about this place. I was basically caught in trouble because there's a lot of things that come with a gambling addiction, and I crashed. I mean, I was in a heap of debt, and it had caught up with me, and so it wasn't that I said, "Oh, I think I have a problem." It was none of that for me. I was I was channeled into getting help. I mean, thankfully, I had people in my life at that time that recognized that I was ill. And in fact, it was my father-in-law that drove me here that day. And I got out of the car and I still walked towards the building, and I was just putting one foot in front of the other. I was very, very numb at the time. So my time in recovery was amazing. It was an amazing program. The women that were working here at the time were phenomenal. They knew what it was all about. And they held my hand until I was able to stand on my own. And they brought me back to life. They did. I mean, I said it earlier that I have things in my life today that I could never have dreamt to have. I know it's material, it doesn't matter. I mean, I have more understanding of my world and of other people. You know, I'm able to understand where things are coming from, emotionally, or where the decisions I'm making are coming from. You know, it's just, I make healthy decisions today. And they taught me that. I learned that in this house. It was crazy, yeah. When I came to Amethyst, abstinence was what was necessary, but today it's just a way of life. I have no desire to go to the casino. I have no desire to gamble. There's friends of mine and I that play the like 649 but it's not hidden. It's above board. I'm doing it with friends. It's healthy. It's like any other normal person would do, right? It's not something that is consuming my life, which it did at the time when I was at the casino. The casino gambling was it was like I was strung out on heavy drugs. That's how bad it was. And today, the decisions I make or the activity that I do with my friends, it's like anybody else would do. You know, I've been asked before if I'm a recovering addict. I guess, yes, I would classify myself as a recovering addict. I mean, do I still have to protect myself? For sure. I don't think I could walk into a casino and be a normal person in a casino, so I don't go. And I don't have a desire to go. So I'm a different person today. I make decisions. I'm not caught up in that race that I was in back in 2000. It's not something that's a part of me anymore. There's a lot of things that did come out when I was in this program here at Amethyst, and you know, I don't think about them as much today as I did back then. There's certain things, you know, when I said earlier in the interview that I was suicidal when I came here. Suicide had always been a thought in my life. It's not anymore. Difficulties arise today. It's not my go-to. And it's something that I never thought that I would ever not have as a way out. I have other choices today. You know, it's not, so in that part I do feel I've come a long way with my healing. All I can say is that having entered the program here at Amethyst was probably the best thing I have ever done in my life. And I stuck with it. And when I came to the program, I was committed to it. I was very mindful of what I had to say and how I wanted to participate in the program. I made a commitment to myself that if I was going to be in these rooms in group therapy, I was going to participate. And I did. And participating wasn't just speaking, it was listening. Because in these groups, you listen carefully to what the other women are sharing. And it's important to understand how you feel and how you relate, or how I felt or how I related to what they were saying. And that gave me the opportunity to see, to look inside myself and understand how I was feeling about something, or what was coming up for me because someone else was sharing something. Maybe I had the same experience. And I was able to break it down and open up about it, you know? So it's really magic that happens in these rooms. It really is magic. I have an incredible life now. I really do. And had I not gotten into this program and did the work that it needed to be done, I wouldn't have this life today. I know that for a fact. So this interview is pretty good for me because it kind of makes me remember that, you know, I have an appreciation for what happened, the whole road that I went on. Because, you know, life continues on and then you kind of forget things. But doing the interview says, yeah, it was tough. It was not an easy road to walk in this program. And, you know, the events that I did or the things that I did after being in here when I went to Algonquin and I took the Trauma and Addiction Recovery Studies program, it was also an important part of my life. Working here at Amethyst following that for many years after as, you know, a group counselor was also probably a big part of my healing to stay connected. There was a real loss when the program, my recovery program, was coming to an end. You don't want to leave here. So it was a way for me to stay, you know, to go back to school and then to work here. And then, you know, it took its time and it went through the road that it had to go through, and then it came to an end. And even that was, you know, something that I was able to deal with on in a very healthy way with detaching from the program. So I learned a lot. I mean, the whole time. This place did save my life. It really did.